upon Commissioner Olwande to ask the last set of questions. Commissioner.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, my Lord.
Good afternoon. How are you?
My Lord, I like it that, like me, you believe that employee motivation and welfare is a significant input towards improving service delivery. And I'm aware that you once vied to represent the KMJA as a male representative in this commission. So I believe you're alive to our issues, and I'm certain that you don't believe that a ban to accompany the tea that we take at 10 o'clock would be motivation or a welfare concern. So I want to ask you, Judge, to give 2 issues aside from salary, and one which you've already raised, which is training, 2 issues which are welfare concerns, which, if addressed, would motivate the judicial officers and staff in this institution.
Accommodation is one. We have workers. They are physical, beings. We have no emotional attachment to them. It is good to nurse and accommodate our workers. That is the only way. If you don't buy them, like I'm saying and saying repeatedly, if you don't buy them, if you don't cajole them, if you don't accommodate them, there are issues. Most of them are very, very young people. They have children and baby. They are in the stages of babying, etc., etc. So their social welfare and all other terms must be accommodated by the employer very, very, very well to motivate them. You must recognize them, their humanity, their personality, their issues, etc., etc. I remember in Kericho we tackled a case of one of our officers who had issues with a drink, and very successfully, but it refused to work because of a relapse and what have you. We even took him to some place in South Nyanza as a gym. That is what we are saying. Let the employer engage more, invest more, not even invest in anything physically, emotional support, concern, love, so that we get home. Number 2, you don't work alone. You should be able to get these people together, either in gangs or one big gang, and nurture that kind of a spirit of a group which we can call and tell them, we do this because of A, B, C, D, and E. If Kenya grows, we all grow. So get these people to tie together, like each other, nurse each other, assist each other, be a party or a partner to them insofar as their welfare is concerned, insofar as their unity is concerned, insofar as their harmony is concerned. Things which may not be very high sounding, but very, very important insofar as staff morale, staff productivity, staff welfare is concerned.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Do you believe in mentorship, and do you practice it? And if you do, can you give us examples of judicial officers, for instance, or judicial staff that you mentor?
I have friends in the judiciary. Mentoring would be involvement in that direction. I may not have any particular case of anybody I mentor, but I mentor in the air. I am a living teacher. That's why you find me shouting all over, and I don't give there are no issues about that, because wherever I sit, I'm teaching. By the time we leave this place, you'll have gotten so much from me. The teacher in me does not keep quiet. That is a part of my mentoring. Whenever I find anybody, how many people, anybody I find, yourself included, if we had 1 minute with you, Have you gone back to college? Are you writing your other degree? etc, etc. That is where I am, personal development, and concern for everybody else. Many of the workers in the judiciary are now my children. I deal with them as such. I nurse them. I parent them. Not that direct mentorship, but mentorship in a broad sense of the word.
Thank you, Judge. Now, you were once subject of investigation in a tribunal to remove you. And without necessarily going into the decision of the tribunal, I just want to ask you, because the issue that came up, one of the issues that were discussed in the tribunal concerned an order that you gave, which was considered sub judice.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you whether you think as a judge, you ought to concern yourself or be guided by the consequences of your decision. To put it in context, in the matter before the tribunal,
Yes.
the allegation was that one judge in Nairobi had given an order against a strike notice. And the affected parties appeared before you subsequently and sought protection, essentially, from the consequences of disobeying that order. So that in the long run, you are in effect insulating these, the people before you, let me just call them the employees before you. You are insulating them against the consequences of the order that was given in Nairobi, bearing in mind that the order in Nairobi was given before the matter before you. Could you comment on that, please?
It is unfortunate that I have to engage on that one. This is a judicial service of Kenya, and they handle that matter. But shyly, let me tell you that, one, you know the periphery of the matter. The matter was more complex. What happened is that the JESC asked me to answer that matter, and I did answer. And the answer I gave, I did not suppose that anybody would require any more efforts. I do not like this. To ask me
Judge,
to...
I'm not even questioning the decision. The question I'm asking here is, as you make a decision as a judge, should you have a broader outlook so that the consequences of the decision, other than looking at the letter of the law, the consequences of the decision that you make, you take them into consideration as you make your decision?
You look at that, you are right. You must look at it 360 degrees. But as you look at it 360 degrees, when you're through with the first round of 360 degrees, you must come back 360 degrees and ask yourself, should I not do this? What are the other consequences? So you have two sets of consequences. The set of consequences which would occur if you didn't give the interim orders, and this other set which would occur if you issued the interim orders. Now, and that is why this matter is so ugly. I answered all that. Because I cannot answer your question without referring to the substance of that matter. Allow me to get into that, just a little bit of it. I pray that we shall not be playing around with anybody else, because I would be so sorry. I'm a peacemaker. I don't like confrontation. But
you don't have to respond to the merits of the matter. It's just that concept I wanted to get, and I think essentially you have responded.
You must look at it all out, 360
Thank you.
degrees.
Thank you, Judge.
You should also look at the other way, 360 degrees. That is my answer.
Thank you. Still on the tribunal, but from another aspect.
Please.
You filed a case against the JSC in an attempt to arrest the proceedings before the tribunal.
Yes.
Now, to put the matter in context for us, and the rest that maybe would want to know, what were your grievances in that matter? And secondly, having gone through that process, Are there any deficiencies that you noted that you would wish to have addressed or that you would wish to have us relook?
One, a good commissioner, that matter is alive and in court at Milimani. Petition number 88 of 2019 is alive. So we could be bordering on one or two things. Although sub-judice has been used as an excuse to run away from facts. I don't know whether I should move on to that. The JESC, to give a plain answer, as the pleadings or the advocates have the pleadings, it would be rude to say that the easier way would be to look at it. Or you invite me onto we are colleagues. You can invite me into a private sermon. We can deal with that very thoroughly. You'll be able to understand it. If you wanted to bring it out here and we thrash it, I think it would be ugly because it will cause confusion here. And we are warned, and very, very clearly in the HR circles, that you don't go to your employer and start quarreling with him head on.
It's okay, Judge. If it makes you uncomfortable to address that question, it's okay, we can leave it. Now, maybe we can go to...
The answers are very, very easy and very near myself, but it is not fair that we do it here with the JESC.
Thank you.
Invite me to a private section. We are colleagues, and the JESC and myself, we are all friends. I said I don't have any enemies, and we shall be able to thrash it. And I'll give you very satisfactory answers. And when I can't answer, we can research into it.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Now, sexual harassment. In the Judiciary Code of Conduct, sexual harassment has been given a wide scope. We have included in it the meaning assigned to it in the Sexual Offences Act, in the Public Officers Ethics Act, and in the Employment Act. Now, I was looking at the definition or the meaning assigned to the term sexual harassment in the Employment Act. Basically, it has been said to mean a request for sexual favors which contains a threat of detrimental treatment or a promise of preferential treatment. Now, considering the power dynamics at play in a relationship between a junior employee and a senior employee, would you say that a request of this nature from a senior employee to a junior employee has in it or has imputed in it either a threat or a promise of that nature?
One would have to get to the facts of the matter. Your definition of sexual harassment is respectable. When that happens, it truly amounts to harassment because there's no consensus insofar as the matter, the request or the lack of request, that interaction is not permitted by one of the parties, and therefore it becomes an issue. To be able to answer you precisely, you require to get to the facts of the matter. You require to get more evidence, more details to answer your question. But as we speak, misconduct to that extent, from a junior officer to, from a senior officer to a junior officer, or vice versa, by your definition, amounts to sexual harassment. And it is primitive, it is not permissible, it should be eradicated, it should be outcasted. My words.
Judge, it's not my definition, it's the definition in the Employment Act.
Thank you.
And the essence of my question is, by virtue of that relationship,
yes,
the fact that, for instance, I'm a junior employee, I'm a chief magistrate, and hypothetically, a judge of the Supreme Court is asking me for sexual favors. The dynamics of the relationship between us, clearly, I mean, from where I sit, it can be implied or it can be the element of threat or promise is sort of implied in that request. That's essentially what I'm asking. I don't know if you're getting my question.
No. You can relate to that. You have the liberty. It's your natural human right to relate with anybody of your choice. And the relationships are not an issue of a status or office. A relationship is an issue of a consensus. You can relate with anybody. I don't want to give my example, unfortunately, or your example, but where I say you, I don't mean precisely you. I mean any of us. So in that case, we would permit that kind of a situation, particularly if it is wholly and out of for serious business, like marriage, etc. If it is not any other, although I don't want to be a moralist, we are saying the issue is not the office. The issue is the conduct of the parties or one of the parties. That is what would constitute the offense.
Okay, so I understand you to mean you do not agree with that analogy.
No.
Okay,
I agree with it.
Oh.
Only my clarification is that this thing is all round. You can relate this way. Anyway, the issue of status in a relationship doesn't arise. What issues would look for is whether it was mutual or not mutual, where there was a violence or not no violence, whether there was inducement or no inducement. That is what we look for if we were looking at it. The one that I taught my criminal law in law school, 1981, 82. No, 80, 81. I've done almost 0% of criminal law ever since. I'm not a criminal law practitioner, but I'm a lawyer.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge. I've gotten your answer. Now, I have looked at your application and the papers that you filed accompanying your application, as well as the reports we got from the statutory bodies through which we were vetting you.
Yes.
Starting with your application from JSC 2A.
Yes.
In your self-assessment.
Yes.
You described yourself, let me just read it.
I have it here.
I am a scholar who may have been misplaced at a crucial stage, as is demonstrated by my academic pursuits now at PhD level. This piqued my curiosity. What exactly did you mean by misplaced?
What I'm saying is that from day one I was a teacher. Somewhere along the line I made me become maybe a lawyer, etc. Issues of influence, issues of status, etc. But basically what I was saying is this. I would have gone up the ladder and become a teacher in some university somewhere and enhance that to professorship. I admire what your name, good chair. I would have wished that for myself. And I may get it someday. After retirement, we are going to pursue these things. So along the line, things happened, and things which were out of our control, and we are not in that line. That is what I meant.
I was a bit concerned, Judge, because it gave me the impression that being a judge and ultimately maybe a Chief Justice is basically a plan B for you.
No. I chose to do law. One, because of my issues of justice and issues of service to society. But even in law, and I may not be Chief Justice if I was a professor in law, unless I choose to relinquish that and come back to this area. What I'm saying is that it is not an accident that we are where we are. But teaching, I'm a very big respecter of teachers. The other day I was accused of calling G.K. Kuria advocate, Mwalim, in court, and there was an issue of a recusal, and it worked. I respect teachers. I respect intellectuality. I like the search of knowledge purifies me. In fact, these 2 months you've given me to read, I loved it. And that is where I am.
Thank you, Judge. Okay, again on your form, the form that you fill, JSC 2A.
Yes.
You are required to give a total of 5 referees, 3 professional, and 2 character referees. You gave 5.
Yes.
But 4 out of the 5 were unresponsive when we sought their opinion on your character.
Yes.
And you as a professional.
Did you get them in the first place? That could be the issue.
But what I'm saying is they were unresponsive. We did not get a comment from them. And this is of concern to us, and I'm wondering, do you know them, and would you know the reason why they did not vouch for you?
I suspect that it was a communication, the addresses. 2 of them are in the church, the personal referees, character referees. 2 of them are in the church in Mbagadi and out there on Gatarongai, etc. One is a church elder, the other one is a church minister. Those were the character referees. The others is my colleague, was my colleague at the Nazarene University, Professor Mbodenyi, some teacher of mine at Nairobi University, and an advocate who works at the Meru County and is also an advocate in Meru. I trusted him because I thought we were in school together. We had worked very, very briefly at the AG chambers before he left in Njagi, and I trusted that the other limb of your question. When I issue referees, I don't go to them or even alert them that they may expect A, B, C, and D, or coach them. That is how open I am. I leave it entirely to them to give any information that you may ask, etc., etc. If you haven't, I am available now, today and tomorrow. I could carry those things to them. Dr. Akunga Momanyi, I cannot commit myself on that. Parklands is a difficult area, I may not be able to see him. As to whether you'll be willing to do a commentary on myself, I cannot answer that. He taught me about 15 years ago, 205, 206. This is 1610. This is 13 years ago in my LLM program at the University of Nairobi. I'm not even sure whether you wanted to do that. But teachers are the people we look for as referees in academics. So he has that, but I cannot promise you that I'll be able to get him. I'm not sure whether Professor Mbodenyi has done that. He's available. I can get him. So if you wanted me to pass these letters of inquiry to them, I would do that. As to answers, I will not bind myself on that, because the best I would do is pass the letter and leave it to them. And
okay, thank you, Judge. We were just concerned whether these people know you because they did not respond, but you've already responded to that.
They know me very, very well.
Thank you. Thank
very
you.
well.
Next question concerns the wealth declaration.
Yes.
Before I can address that, maybe I would want to hear from you, Judge. Why do you think we require you to periodically file wealth declarations, and even at the time of filing your application?
The rationale behind wealth declarations was issues on integrity. The ESCC, and particularly we may call it the right corruption. That document will be able to tell you that Judge Marete, before he came to the judiciary, owned bra, 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 bra. After the judiciary, A, B, C. And then you would have to make your own conclusions. You are sharp and good. Those who manage that are supposed to be experts. Even the best of idiots or fools would be able to look at that and say, now, this doesn't make sense. Judge Marete owns some property which is $500 million. I also would find it difficult to imagine that So that is the essence of all declarations.
Thank you, thank you.
We do them.
It gives us an avenue to be able to probe and maybe audit.
True.
Thank you.
Yes.
I looked at your wealth declarations. You are required to submit 3, the last 3, and you did.
Yes.
But some concerns were raised, or I have some concerns concerning the declarations that you filled that give rise to my questions.
Please.
Judge, you earn a salary.
Yes.
That is income.
Yes.
In the 3 declarations that you filed, you've indicated your income as N/A. What does that mean?
Not applicable.
Why is that?
My answer to that is that in my own imagination, my cleverness or lack of it, is that when you're asking for income, you're asking for extra, not my pay. Because I imagine that you know my pay, everybody knows my pay, it's public knowledge. So it's extra income. Do I do business? Do I farm and sell produce? Etc. etc. That is why I answered it that way. If I thought differently, or if I had your idea of what income means, the answer would be very clear.
But you realize, Judge, we started off from the premise that that would help us do some sort of audit so that we're able to look at, you gave the example that if someone said you owned property worth 500 billion, we would question, on what basis would you question that if we do not know what your income is?
You know, you would, well, declaration, the concept and the law came in 2003 after the NAC revolution in 2002. We have dealt with it from our TSE days, up to where we are. And all this time, my conception of income was anything apart from salary. That's where Judge, I went wrong. In the future, I am learning, and even on that one, if you wanted a statement on my income in those years, salary available.
Great. Then you can supply us with that before this process is over?
My pay slips, I'm scattered all over. Some of my service in Eldoret, some of my service in Njagi. I have not moved from Eldoret. That may be a tall order, unless I ask my employer to give me extra details, if that, and I cannot work on anything which I am not in control.
Okay, let me leave that to you. Another concern I had about your wealth declarations is that
Am I allowed to ask a question? Good.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because she has left it to me. Does that mean that I would have to do it, or is left open? Because I can't see myself being able to go and go walk through Eldoret, get the pay slips, go to and those are old ones. Those are many years ago. It may not be practical before you clear the exercise. But I can promise you that, say, the next, how many months? We are in before the close of the vacation, in the summer vacation, in September, I'll be able to give you that. And if you require it then, please tell me so that I can look for them.
Commissioner, or rather maybe you can explain how many, I think it's the last one that we need, not all of them, or the latest.
Okay, Judge, the advertisement required you to supply the last 3. You supplied...
yes, all declaration forms.
Yes, you supplied for 2016, 2018, and 2020, and all of them had that anomaly. They did not have...
It has been permanent from 2 or 3.
Yes.
Yes.
And what I wanted to say is that the advertisement was there, and it is for you to comply. That's why I said we are leaving it to you. If you are talking about September, I do not believe that this commission will put this whole exercise off until September, when you can avail your wealth declarations. So I still maintain I leave it to you, or we leave it to you, to see if you can supply with whatever necessary information that we may need before determination is made. On the next issue,
Judge, you can finish what you are saying, Your Honor.
Yes, I was moving on to the next issue that I have with your wealth declaration, if you can permit me. again, in the description of assets, where you are supposed to indicate the assets that you have, I noticed that you did not disclose your bank accounts. I do believe you have bank accounts.
Yes.
Or at least even a bank account.
Yes.
You did not disclose that.
Mm-hmm.
I also noted that you did not file a separate statement for your spouse as is required in the guidelines on that form. And another crucial one that I noticed is that in the wealth declaration, the last wealth declaration that you filed in 2020,
yes,
you had acquired a new property.
Yes.
Somewhere in Ngong,
Yes.
worth 30 million.
That is not a new property. Good. Please ask your question and finish so that I can answer.
Yes, the challenge I'm having, again, on the same premise that we had agreed on earlier, that these declarations help us to make an assessment and do some kind of audit. You do not have a commensurate loan, because I would imagine probably it's a loan or a mortgage that you've taken,
Yes.
worth that amount of money.
Yes.
Your income has not been indicated.
Yes.
This property worth 30 million
Yes.
does not appear in your wealth declaration of 2016
Yes.
and 2018.
Yes.
So I presumed it was acquired between 2018 and 2020.
Yes.
So-
That property worth 20 million is
30 million, my
my
lord.
home in Ongatarongai. I entered that property on the 1st of September 1996. It was 30 million even before I got to the TSC. It was 30 million even before I got to the judiciary. So if it is not appearing on my other wealth declaration forms, it is an error. It would, and I believe I should have, and I've always wanted to it is my prime property. In my own imagination, I always give it as a part of my wealth. And if I've not done it on any of the others, that is an error. I can correct that by in a write-up or by any other means. That is a property I've owned almost virtually all my life. 1996, and today is almost 30 years, or well over 25. It's 25 years.
Okay, thank you, Judge. I just want also to bring it to your attention that we, in the process of vetting, doing background checks, we received a complaint from one Eric Ipronoko H. We received your response to it, and I do not have questions to that. I will leave it for the consideration of the Commission. Thank you, Judge, and I wish you well.
Chair,
Yes, Your Honor.
I have issues with the Commissioner. She has raised an issue on bank statements. She has raised an issue on my wife's income, and lastly on the complaint. There's something I did not get, and when I get all this, my question will be: does the Commission expect a response on this? I have noted bank statements, I've noted my wife's income, and I've not answered it. I could answer that, be allowed to answer that, or be enabled to answer that. The complaint is done.